Hello and welcome to Nutrimentor. And today we are going to discuss about cancer, definitions and its classification. I am Dr. Saida Nasreen, Assistant Professor in Nutrition. So let us get started. So the word cancer derived from the Greek word karkinos, which means crab in English. So on this slide, let us understand what cancer actually means. Cancer is a malignant neoplasia. In a simple word, it is a disease where certain cells in the body start growing uncontrollably. The cells do not follow the normal rule that healthy cells follow. Instead, they multiply without any control and begin to disturb the normal structure of the tissue. The term neoplasia itself means that cells in a particular tissue are proliferating without usual checks and balances. Normally, our body has a strict system that governs when a cell should grow, divide, or die. But in neoplasia, this regulation breaks down. When this abnormal growth becomes malignant, these cells not only multiply rapidly, but they also invade nearby healthy tissues, damage them, and interfere with their normal function. Over time, they may even spread to distant parts of the body. So cancer is not just about fast growing cell. It is about the cells that grow, invade, disturb healthy balance of the body. Now before we talk about cancer in detail, it is very important to understand one more term, benign tumors. A benign tumor is basically a group of cells that have started growing more than normal, but they're still restricted to the original tissue. They do not invade nearby structure and they usually do not spread to the other parts of the body. So they show abnormal growth, but they are generally not dangerous like malignant tumor. Coming to the cancer that we commonly see around us, the most frequent ones include lung cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, and skin cancer. These are the cancers that contribute to major portion of the global cancer burden. And one more important point, which you need to remember over here, is almost one third of all cancer are directly or indirectly linked with food. That means, like they are linked with what we eat, our dietary pattern, our lifestyle, our quality of food we consume play a major role in determining our long term cancer risk. So, understanding both the biological side and the lifestyle side is essential when we talk about cancer. Now, let's look at how tumors are classified. Tumors are generally grouped based on three important and major factors. First one is the tissue of origin, that is where the tumor begins. Second, their growth properties, how fast they multiply. And third, the ability to invade other tissues. When a tumor becomes malignant, its growth pattern changes dramatically. A malignant neoplasm does not respect boundaries. It gradually destroys the surrounding tissue and over time can spread to distant organ. This spread to far off site is called metastasis. In fact, today we know that there are more than 200 different types of cancer, each with its own behavior and characteristic. You might also see a small pop-up text on the slide that says cancer is a population of cells that has lost its normal control of growth and differentiation and begins to proliferate without any checks. This is a simple and powerful way to understand cancer at its root. Metastasis, which I mentioned earlier, is a process where tumor cell breaks away from the primary tumor, enters the circulatory system, and then travels to the distant location in the body, settles, forms a secondary tumor. This ability to spread is what makes malignant cancer so dangerous and difficult to treat. So, classification helps us understand where a tumor started and how aggressively it behaves. Next, let us look at the major types of cancer based on the tissue from which they arise. This classification is very important because it helps us to understand how each cancer behaves and how it should be treated. When a cancer originates from epithelial tissue, the tissues that line our organs, skin, and gland, it is called a carcinoma. Carcinoma are actually the most common group of cancer. If the cancer develops from mesenchymal tissue, such as bone, muscle, cartilage, or connective tissue, we call it as sarcoma. These are much less aggressive cancers. Now, the cancer that begins with glial cells of nervous system are known as gliomas, and these primarily affect the brain and spinal cord. When the cancer arises from the lymphatic cells or blood-forming tissue, it is referred to as leukemia. This involves abnormal growth of white blood cells and often spread throughout the body. Cancer that starts from pigmented skin cells, specifically melanocytes, are called as melanoma. Melanoma is also known for its high risk of spreading it if not identified early. And finally, cancer that arise from plasma cells, which are type of immune cells found in bone marrow, are called myelomas. So the name of cancer often tell us exactly where it begins, and this information is crucial for diagnosis, prognosis, and treatment planning. Cancer cells behave very differently from normal healthy cells. One of the main reasons they become so dangerous is that they gain several reproductive advantages that normal cells do not have. First, cancer cells can produce their own growth stimulating protein. This means they do not wait for body signal. They create signal themselves and keep multiplying continuously. Some cancer cells can even stimulate the formation of new blood vessels, a process called as angiogenesis, so that they receive more oxygen and nutrient to support their growth. Second, cancer can produce certain enzymes that prevent their chromosomes from aging. Normally, our cells have a limit on how many times they can divide. But cancer cells often activate enzymes like telomerase, which protect their chromosomes and allow them to divide endlessly, almost becoming immortal at the cellular level. Finally, cancer cells have their ability to invade the lymphatic system and bloodstream. This is how they travel to new parts of the body and settle there and begin growing in other tissues, a process known as metastasis, which we discussed in previous slide. This spreading ability is what makes cancer extremely challenging to treat. So, in simple terms, cancer cells grow faster, live longer, and move more freely than normal cells, giving them a powerful advantage inside the body. As cancer cells continue to multiply, they gradually become more and more abnormal. With each division, they lose their normal structure and function, and at the same time, they start demanding a larger share of the body's metabolic resources. In simple terms, the body is forced to spend more energy, more nutrient, more oxygen just to keep these abnormal cells alive. As these cancer cells grow, they begin to invade and damage healthy tissues around them. This invasion disrupts the normal functioning of the organ. When an organ is infiltrated by cancer cells, it cannot perform its regular activity efficiently, and that leads to serious health issues. This damage is what eventually causes organ malfunction, pain, and in many cases, death if the cancer is not detected and treated in time. So, the real danger of cancer is not just rapid cell growth, it is the way these cells destroy healthy tissues and compromise the body's essential functions. That's all for this particular video. We'll be continuing with the etiological factor, dietary treatment, and medical treatment of cancer in upcoming lecture series. Thank you very much.